Okay, we're going to start with the nation. APC NEC to ratify Ganduje Bashiru as chairman and secretary. Court of Appeal, e-transmission of results not mandatory. For joining police, my lover left me, says Inspector General of Police. Revenue windfall, our expectations from governors by South leaders. Markets await monetary direction from CBN's MPC. Hashtag EndSARS, nobody taken from toll gate, says Lagos State government. Nigerian equities outperform global stocks with 1.3 trillion gain. Shetima in Rome for Global Food Security Summit. All right, which story are we starting with? I was going to start with the EndSARS because it went viral over the weekend. There was a letter from the Public Procurement Department of the agency of the Lagos State government that went viral where there was a memo saying about 103 bodies were supposed to be for mass burial. And that went viral. Many people posted it. Many stations reposted that memo. However, the Lagos State government has responded to that memo that went viral, saying that none of the bodies of one of the 103 bodies picked up around during the EndSARS season was not from the toll gate. According to them, the chief coroner invited the public through adverts, announcements, about who has lost their relatives to come and identify and declare them missing between October 19th and 27th to 2020 till date. And none of them, nobody showed up in the past 3 years, according to the report. And therefore, they had approval, legal approval, to thereby dispose of the bodies. They said almost 3 years, the bodies remain unclaimed, adding the congestion of the morgues. This spurred the need to decongest the morgues, a procedure that follows very careful medical and legal guidelines in the event that a relative may still come and own up to take one of the bodies. However, the Nigerians are still
important to lead to, if we were not discussing that hot topic, the key areas where the bodies were picked from. And
so
it was
I was going to say that because also the statement also included that the bodies were picked up from Ketu, Fagba, Ikorodu, Orile, Ajegunle, Abule-Egba, Ikeja, Ojota, Ekoro, Ogba, Isolo, Ajah, and many other places. And there was also a jailbreak at Ikoyi prison. So there were quite a lot of
after
incidences, yes. The protest that toll gate, at last shooting the toll gate, that these bodies were picked up. So, of course, according to the Lagos State government, mischief makers have tried to take this and sensationalize it to make it look as if the Lagos State government has done something wrong. But this is actually evidence that they haven't done it.
It's important that we had a very quick response.
Yes.
Because we know how sensitive that particular topic is before people will carry it and make it something else.
That story?
Yes, I have this story. I found it quite interesting. It's our acting Inspector General of Police, the roaring lion. You know, I like him so much. And he was in church doing his Thanksgiving for his new position. But then he was also giving, you know, like testimony of his journey in the police force, how it cost him a best friend. He said when he told the best friend that he was going to the police, the best friend just defriended him and refused to talk to him.
Yeah, he said my lover. Which friend?
We are getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, different. So when he said he went through his police academy and everything and said, guess what? The first thing he did was to bail his friend out of police net when he was done. And they've become even closer since then. And he said he also remembered he had a fiancé or a lady he wanted to marry. And when she heard that he was joining the police, she was like, no. People are always cursing police officers. She does not want curses on her family. And so she gave him up. But he said he thanks God that she did because that's how he met his wonderful wife and he got married. And he talked about, and he talked about how the very few years, he talked about an incident that happened in 1992 where there was a gun battle with armed robbers and said it was God that saved him, and just many other miracles that happened to him during the course of his career.
Now he's the acting IGP.
Yes, he mentioned that twice he wanted to be a commissioner of police in Lagos State and it never happened for him. People are thinking there's some sort of relationship he has with Tinubu. That's why he got this position. He said he has nothing to do with that. That is God all through. I thought it was good to hear the backstory of a police officer.
Yeah, fantastic. Good. And
honestly, I'm going to take time to read it as well.
He's a roaring lion.
Yes.
You know, when we hear police officers, there's a negative connotation.
Yes.
It's important that we see it from that perspective. I want to tell you the story about the vice president. So the vice president is representing our president in Rome. That's the capital, the Italian capital, and it's it's the stock-taking moment summit. It is supposed to cover the idea of food security, food system transformation in Nigeria. It is going to be addressing innovative financing for food system transformation and scaling up the multi-stakeholder collaboration and investment in the implementation of food systems within Nigeria. So we're looking forward to the event is hosted by a UN-based agency and the Food and Agricultural Organization of Nigeria. Food and Agriculture, FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, and many other agencies. I'm hoping that from this international conversation that is being had, we are able to bring some things home to help ensure that we have a more sustainable food policy that will be implemented to, because that's it's one of the things he said, that the summit to be from July 26 to July 29, and one of the hope of the Vice President going for this event is to be able to have a conversation to see how we can partner to implement and improve bilateral relationships with some countries that will be able to help us with our strategy.
Moving on now to the Punch. Workers kick as governors borrow 2.2 trillion naira from banks. NDLEA seizes 3.7 billion naira tramadol at Lagos Airport. Ogun begins probe as 8 die after alcohol bout. Senate gears up for ministerial screening, awaits list this week. Dollar now 876 naira as forex shortage worsens. Dangote intensifies lobby as North Central APC demands chairmanship. So that's Ganduje. I said Dangote. Ganduje. All right, let me take the major headline. So the National Union of Local Government Employees and state chapters of the National Union of Pensioners has said the banks lambasted the state government for the loans they've accumulated over the years. According to this report from the Debt Management Office, the state governments have actually borrowed about 2.2 trillion naira from that's their commercial debts and domestic debts. According to this, to them also, they said that of all the states, only about 25 have had an internally generated revenue, and of that, only about one out of the 219.5 billion naira Q1 revenue, only about 182 was made from the state government. They're saying that they've not seen any improvement in their workers and their lives with all the money they've been borrowed so far. Specifically, let me just quote them directly. They said that the pensioners said that the bank loans did not translate to better infrastructure or improved welfare of workers and pensioners in the state. And that more closer look must be looked into what the governments are using this money for. 2.2 trillion naira debt is quite huge on the part of governments, and only about 25 of the 36 states are able to generate revenue to pay back some of these loans. And some of them are totally not even making revenue at all. Many of them are just totally dependent on the federal allocations. And this is a problem. Workers are protesting. And this was spoken by the senior civil servants, the chairman of Senior Civil Servants Association, Mr. Igboque Chukuma, said such borrowing did not translate in any way to better welfare of the workers, and it must be checked.
So I have an NDLEA story. Operatives of the NDLEA have been said to thwart plans to smuggle over 5 million pills of tramadol worth 3.7 billion. Mr. Femi Babafemi, the spokesperson for NDLEA, said that they were able to do this with the collaboration of the Nigerian Customs Service and also others working at the airport's DHL cargo warehouse. They said 98 cartons containing 5,122,900 pills of tramadol. There was also, it showed that this were coming from India and Pakistan, and the final destination was Sierra Leone. They also identified a drug kingpin who they named as Charles Wagbali. He was arrested in his hotel room. They said they had gotten intelligence that this is the sort of person he gets people and makes them and gives them drugs, so recruits mules. So he was in the process of giving a particular person, Uju Dominic, 93 pellets of cocaine. That person was supposed to swallow it and travel to Italy, and he was caught right there with the mule as well. They said he was quite shocked. Well done, NDLEA. Of course, so many other arrests were made on the streets. People, there's this person, they said Bauchi recovered over 6 million pills of opioids from 3 suspects: Emmanuel Oyebuchi, 32, Uche Yida, 33, Chinedu Ezenyim, 32. The age just cuts across from 48 to 60-something to 30-something. Everybody is just...
All right. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. The other story.
Just quick update on... I actually have avoided taking the story, a political story of APC and the NEC, but since the National Executive Committee has ratified that the position be moved to Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje as the National Chairman and Senator Ajibola Bashiru as National Secretary, the next meeting would be the only thing left now is for the President to confirm that. And once the President confirms, it's a done deal. And many of the Governors Forum under APC supported the decision, saying that it's best to maintain the current zoning, pre-existing zoning formula for the composition of party leadership, because it also influences from the presidency and all the other appointments that have been taken. So in maintaining that, they've appointed these two as the...
Moving on quickly now to the point: crime, anger, danger as young Nigerians misapply talents. Brain drain hits Nigerian varsities. Undergraduate laments say we now teach ourselves online classes. Frustrating. APC chairmanship, how Adamu was paid back in his own coin. Family insists man accused of killing their pregnant daughter must marry her corpse. And confusion over the leaked memo on 61.2 million naira allegedly approved for Sanwo-Olu for mass burial of the EndSARS victims. Okay, which story?
Yes, I took this story. This has to do with a teenage girl who had been forced into marriage by her father. So they said Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Osun and a human rights activist, citizen Lola Way, rescued this girl who had been forced into marriage. So it just happened, this long of it. Let me try and see if I can summarize it. She said she went to school until primary 6, but her father but she noticed that he was trying to prep her for marriage. He had collected a dowry from a suitor and had been, pestering her to get married. And she didn't want that. When she realized what he was trying to do, she left home. She ran away from home, and she went to start tailoring school. And while she was there, the father reported her as having stolen his money and his coral beads. And so because of that, they arrested her. When they arrested her, she explained that, no, her father has been trying to get her to get married, and she wants to continue her school and also learn tailoring. Anyway, because they brought her, he found that we smuggled her to that man's house, and finally involving these human rights activists, Lola Way was able to rescue her. They had a meeting with the families, and they have decided that she's going to live with the Sarkin Fulani, because that's where the community that she comes from. She'll live with the Sarkin Fulani until she's done with her formal and informal education. Before then, she can decide when to get married. To think that these sort of things are happening today to our young girls is, quite...
There was a story that caught my attention in the Point, which is quite disheartening. Students in public universities have lamented the shortage of lecturers in their institutions, noting that learning has been very difficult, as many of them have to resort to online learning. According to this report, only about 100,000 academic staff are attending to 2.1 million students. The Point had gathered this information, and the Deputy Executive Secretary of Administration, NUC, Chris Mayaki, confirmed that as a result of increased running costs, mega budgetary allocations, issue of power shortage, and shortages of manpower has led many lecturers to relocate abroad for greener pastures, leaving fewer lecturers in the universities. This is quite painful because, according to other reports, the management of the 2.3 trillion tertiary tax fund, that's TED fund, stressed that the scholars who are sponsored by TED fund, some of them have gone abroad refused to return to the country after completing their program. So TED Fund, which is supposed to be helping the lecturers, some of them, to get scholarship, to get better knowledge, they go abroad and they never return. This is an interesting report from The Point, and I think it's worth looking at. I think it's one of these things we have to make it a hot topic to discuss further. Okay, let's move on to another story. Let's move on to the Daily Sun. Presidential election anxiety grips Tinubu, Atiku, Obi as Judgment Day beckons. Life now unbearable, Afenifere Middle Belt Forum, ACF others lament. Politicians feeling Christian-Muslim discord, Islamic scholar says. Obaseki accuses federal government of abandoning Edo. CSO asks NYSC to apologize to Imba over allegation of forged certificates. And exchange rate, experts call for removal of ban on 43 items. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let me talk about the exchange rate, because the dollar in the parallel market was sold at 865 to 870 naira to a dollar. Yet the investors and exporters, as the IE window in the banks, was going for 77 naira to a dollar. So, and it's not expected to be that way. There shouldn't be a gap between the official and the black markets, considering that we've already said it was floating. Yeah. But the reason that still exists is because there are some products that are on banned, banned from getting the official amount. And that is why people are putting a lot more pressure on the parallel market, which will make the price continue to go high there. So if you really want to float, experts are saying, then remove all the banned items that initially the central bank had said they were going to be allowing free trade until currency has achieved market relevant level. But right now, several factors are contributing to this. And they are saying it is mainly that ban. Many people are not taking advantage of the official window. They are having to go to the open markets. It's a policy that was useful then, but with the change, that policy should have been taken out. But we're not objecting. It should just be reviewed to reduce the burden.
Okay, I was going to take the story of an Islamic scholar, Sheikh Hamisu Yao, has said that most of the issues of religious dichotomy between Muslims and Christians are being fueled by politicians for their own personal and political gains. According to him, Nigerians must be wary of such politicians widening disunity between both religions. He specifically said that if you are not a good Muslim, if you don't see Christians as your brother, and you're not be a good Christian if you don't see Muslims as your brothers. So we must strive to be each other's keeper. And this was said. I mean, just reiterating the fact that politicians will always use religion to divide us.
Good message. Yeah, so there's this video that's been trending on social media, and it shows that the governor of Edo State in his convoy was stranded in a flooded area. They said the Sapele Road in Benin. And in the video, they say you could hear someone say, it don't red, everybody don't they collect, like everybody rich and poor, you know, that they've always, so people were there saying that they've always talked about these bad roads, but the governor is always filling it up, filling the potholes and never properly doing the roads. And now he can feel exactly what regular Nigerians or regular indigenes of Edo State are feeling. The governor, in his own, he made a response. He said that, first of all, the state cannot fix the Benin-Auchi, Benin-Sapele Road because the federal government had already awarded contracts for its repair to a contractor. He said that it seems as if they have been ignored because they have called federal government's attention to, to the state of these roads, and it just seems like nothing is being done on that level. We'll see
how that goes, because it's going to be one of our hot topics. I was going to take Vanguard because it was a story that a lot of parents, a lot of students have been trying to reach us to talk about. That's don't snuff life out of us. Parents beg Tinubu concerning the school fees increase across unity schools. That's a really, really hot topic that Nigerians are talking about. But